If you thought Game of the Year was the most prestigious award category, you couldn't be more wrong. Most innovative gameplay, that is the award, that is the prize that people really care about. At least according to Starfield fans, because as we can see on the Starfield Twitter, they say that they're thrilled to announce that Starfield has won most innovative gameplay at the Steam Awards. And Uncle Phil, he wasn't missing out on this action. He's retweeted that as well. He's very happy. He's content. He's thinking, no, we didn't waste $8 billion on Bethesda. It was a fine purchase. Look at all these awards Starfield is getting. We're running out of space on the shelf. This was all worth it. But what you're probably thinking is, how the hell did Starfield win most innovative gameplay? How does that happen? If this was just best Xbox game or some sort of nonsense, no one would have cared. People would have simply shrugged and gone back inside. But most innovative gameplay, people's whole problem with Starfield is that it feels 10, 15 years old. It's like Fallout 3, Skyrim, but without any of the good parts. It's got all of the bad stuff, the jank, the wacky character models, the mediocre storylines, but it's got none of the positives. There's no environmental storytelling, the exploration in general is simply bland, the world sucks. So if you scratch your head and you really start to think about what is it that Bethesda might have innovated on, what is it we could have forgotten about? Is it the gunplay? No. Is it the planets? Definitely not. Is it the procedural generation? Nah. NPCs. Unless they count as innovation, unless those facial animations do something for you, I don't think that's what won at the category. So the question then becomes, what are the Steam Awards and how the hell did this win? Well, I did some digging, and the Steam Awards themselves, they are community voted. So it's not as if Gabe and the executive leadership team at Valve, they came together, they had a big conference and decided Starfield is the deserving winner, it is the champion. It certainly wasn't that, it literally was the general public who was voting on this. And to further clarify how this won, if we have a look at all of the different categories that were on offer here for the Steam Awards, we can see Game of the Year, Baldur's Gate 3 won it. Nice, they picked up another W, that's always a good thing. But you can see in these nominations, EA Sports FC 24. So it's quite clear that the people voting on these awards, they're not really like maybe you or I. It's literally a whole nother sphere of the gaming community. These are people who probably only play EA Sports, these types of games. They play absolutely nothing else. You've also got Hogwarts Legacy. Nice, there'll be certain people on the internet who are probably quite upset at that. But you've got Lethal Company, that's an indie title that's taken off recently. Makes sense that it's on there. Resident Evil 4, you've probably got the same EA Sports people looking at Resident Evil 4 and scratching their head and going, Resident Evil 4? I played that 20 years ago on the GameCube. What's that doing on a Game of the Year list? The point is, there's a lot of casual players who don't know about what remakes are coming out, what games are releasing this year. They probably play a handful of them, and many of those people, they probably played Starfield, they heard it's from the makers of Skyrim, they probably dabbled, they played for a few hours. They're not going to be super mad because they're not super fans. They're not people who are heavily anticipating it. Those are the people who are most disappointed. They thought we might be getting the next Skyrim, the next Bethesda-style Fallout. It was going to be the new big modern game, and it wasn't that, and that's why people were pissed. Again, it's not the case that people are really angry because it's a game they don't like. There's plenty of shit games that are released, but this game just felt like it could have been something more, but incompetence meant we missed out on a genuine Bethesda game like we've enjoyed perhaps in the past. And if we go through some more of these categories, Labor of Love. Now, looking at the releases here, it's mostly live services like Dota 2, Apex Legends, but then you've got Red Dead Redemption 2 here. Now, I don't even believe this has had any sort of major patch this year, because Labor of Love, it's meant to mean games that developers do love. They keep updating them, they keep expanding on them, and yet Red Dead Redemption 2 won. Not even Red Dead Online, I believe, has had meaningful updates. So what this basically means is this winning over these live service games that probably have decent fan bases, they're just not as big as a huge Rockstar title, is people just go on these Steam Awards, again, they're player voted, this isn't Valve choosing the best games, and they just go, oh, I like Red Dead Redemption, I picked that one. They're not thinking about the categories, they're not saying, does Red Dead Redemption 2 genuinely deserve to win this? No, they just think, I like the game, I'll click the button. It basically seems to work like that. Oh, look, winner, Hogwarts Legacy, Best Steam Deck Award. Some people are going to be very upset. And if we now go to Innovative Gameplay Award and we look what Starfield was up against, I tried to look into exactly how the nominations work, if you can sort of pick anything and then you go into like the finals. I think it's something like that, but just the way it was laid out, voting in the Steam Awards, it doesn't seem to be very intuitive. And let's be honest, most people who are gaming on Steam in their spare time, they're playing games. They don't care about voting in this meaningless crap. And if we actually look at the nominations listed here, Shadow of Doubt, that's an indie title. It doesn't even have 10,000 reviews on Steam, and I'm not knocking it. It's just not going to have the mainstream appeal, even of a Starfield. Even if you don't like the game, there's still going to be more fans of it than some of these smaller titles. Contraband Police, it's a simulation game, again, very niche. It probably does its kind of game quite well, but it's not going to appeal to a wider group of people. The biggest one here outside of Starfield is Remnant 2, and even that I'd probably classify as double A. Even though it's good, it's not going to have the marketing budget to compete, at least in terms of public interest, with Starfield. So it seems like Bethesda basically won this by default, and I think the really short version of this is, why did Starfield win? It's because really the Steam Awards are a little bit silly, they don't really make a whole lot of sense. It's nice that every gamer can jump on and have a voice, and I'm not being elitist when I say people jump on and they vote for EA Sports or whatever it might be. Those fans, they're entitled to do that, they should be able to have that voice as well, but I don't think the average gamer's really going to care. They're not even going to be very mad about this. Okay, Starfield won something, but it's like getting a prize out of a cereal box. It doesn't mean anything, no one really cares, and I think all it really says is that the Steam Awards probably need to be looked at, if Steam care about them at all, if they want them to have some credibility. If they just want people to have a bit of fun, vote on their favourite game, have something to talk about, that's fine as well. If they want to leave it as is, power to them. But what I did find quite humorous, quite enjoyable to read, was all these Starfield fans who were using this as some big gotcha. They're trying to say, oh, I knew it! This Starfield hate, it's just a toxic, loud minority online. The silent majority, they love this game, and this award proves it. It really shows that Starfield is beloved, and it's going to be the game we all play for the next 10 years. There are people convinced of that, because we're here on one of the Starfield subreddits. It's the one where you get banned if you say anything negative about it. These people had to create their own hive mind for this purpose. The larger Starfield subreddit, people are more realistic. They say it's a pretty mediocre game. These people aren't having it. And we can see here, this person commenting on the latest award, the victory lap for Starfield. They've posted a 2012-2013 meme, let the hate flow through you. Haha, comedic gold. In all seriousness, it doesn't matter. The silent majority likes the game. Bring on the DLC. What is this DLC that you're alluding to? Is it bug fixes? Is it maps for cities? Is it more bug fixes? I guess it must be the Shattered Space Expansion or whatever it's called. Let's be real with that though, what could it possibly include? I'd be expecting, say, a faction questline level of story length. And aside from that, are you going to add in more galaxies, more solar systems, just more barren planets with the same crap on them? Oh, you've added a new settlement that's going to appear every single time I go to a planet because everything's randomly generated. I'm going to run into the same place 5 times. Oh, another empty cave. How could you be so generous? That's about all that they can really do, unless they basically admit the game sucks and they just add in maybe one new planet that is totally handcrafted. I'd call that a win, by the way. If they do that, I'd be happy, but I don't think they will, because they have to admit that they failed, that no one really likes the game that they actually created. So I would expect nothing from the DLC. I think it's fitting that this person is excited for that. They can't really talk about anything that they actually enjoyed in the base game. And then you've got this person. The narrative on here is that anyone questioning Bethesda's award innovative gameplay, they're suggesting they may not have deserved it. These people are saying that your copium is off the charts. They've owned you. And he's putting in quotation marks supposedly what Starfield haters are saying. People voted ironically. Other gamers are just stupid compared to the glory of sweaty me and can't understand the superiority of bare sex. Rigged election. Oh, Donald Trump. This is Reddit. Can you believe they mentioned Donald Trump? Bethesda paid them off. And then another person or another, this is satire, right? Now, this is what I find funny. These people are convinced that non-fans of Starfield, people who think the game's quite middling, it's mediocre, they convince themselves that we're melting down, we're so upset that it's won a Steam Award. Let's be totally real. No one cares about the Steam Awards. It doesn't really mean anything. Starfield winning most innovative gameplay, it's just another thing to laugh at. It's a bit of fun. That's really all it is. Is this award going to change public perception of the game? Absolutely not. Is it going to do anything to sales? I wouldn't think so. I think more people care about the actual Steam user reviews where you know someone's actually played the game. They're going to go off that. You don't even have to have played Starfield to vote on it in the Steam Awards. That should really tell you something. These people will grab onto any little scrap because they're so far down the rabbit hole of convincing themselves that anyone who doesn't like the game is wrong. They're simply toxic, their opinion isn't valid. It just can't be the case for them that most people don't like it and they're in the minority. They can't accept that. It's got to be everyone's bad except for me. That's how they think. And no one is saying that you're not allowed to play Starfield, you're not allowed to have fun. I played plenty of games that have maybe mixed public opinion, they have bad Metacritic scores. Elix, for instance, that got panned by critics. I really enjoyed it. I didn't care what other people are saying. These people seem to care a lot about what other people think. If you love it, if you genuinely think everyone else is insane, this is a fantastic game, just go and play it, but you just have to accept that not everyone is enjoying it. In fact, most people overall don't like it. That is the perception. But they grab onto these little things. They try and convince themselves that everyone else is toxic. It's not them. And you have people blatantly making things up as well. For instance, this person, 13 million plus copies of Starfield sold. I don't believe that's true. They then say over 100 million in total revenue from sales. Even with the small, vocal minority of trolls review bombing the game, are you serious? Small vocal minority. Let's look on Steam here, and we can look at the reviews, 90,000 of them, and it's sitting at mixed. Most recently, they've all been pretty much negative, but overall 64% are positive, which means that 36% of people gave this a thumbs down. That is a lot of people. That is like 30,000 people who gave a negative review. To suggest that they are simply a small vocal minority of trolls, you're absolutely deluded. And I've said this in the past as well, a game's gotta be really bad to fall below mostly positive. There's so many games where people will be like, yeah, it was middling, it wasn't very good, and they still give it a thumbs up. So to go to mixed, to go to mostly negative for recent reviews, that is really bad. And the positive reviews were very front-loaded as well. People wanted to like the game. They didn't set out to hate it. And in its first few days, it was sitting at something like 85, 86% positive, maybe even a little bit higher. It's slowly gone down as reality has set in. Unfortunately, these people are having like a delayed reaction, delayed PTSD. Maybe in 12 months' time, they'll go, oh, I've seen the light. This game does suck. What was going on? I was in some sort of cult. Jesus. But if we continue, someone actually asks them for a source, where did you get the revenue figures? And someone comments, he's partially incorrect. Starfield has 13 million players as of December 2023, which includes anyone who played through Game Pass. And that 13 million players figure comes from an official Bethesda post. They tried to claim that 13 million plus copies had sold. When you've got to exaggerate, when you've got to pretend that everything's going well, that's when you know things are dire. And in terms of how many have been sold, this person claims 4 million copies were sold. They don't have a source, so it might be rubbish. But if that is true, 4 million copies, that is really bad for essentially the big sequel to Fallout 4. following on from Skyrim before that, to fall this low, that is really dismal. And it's not going to have legs either. It's not just going to keep quietly selling, because word of mouth is really bad. It's some of the worst word of mouth for any game, because 3-4 months on, people are still very interested in talking about how it let them down, how they were excited and it just disappointed. So people are actively going to be telling people, do not buy this game, don't support it, because we need Bethesda to improve. Heads need to roll. I spoke about earlier how about if you like the game, just quietly play it, enjoy it. Those people go, well, why are you hating on it? If you don't like it, why are you still talking about it? The reason is Bethesda need to hear this. Microsoft need to hear it, because Bethesda is sitting on some beloved IPs, and I don't think they're equipped to make good games out of them. They might need to go to other studios, and I don't think that's sitting on our hands and saying nothing is healthy. They need to hear that they fucked up. And if we're handing out awards, this guy is the ultimate coper. Hate to be this guy, but this is why it won. There is nothing else like Starfield on the market right now. No Man's Sky and Star Citizen probably being the closest, but miles apart too. It's a well-earned award, in my opinion, referring to Starfield, of course, winning Most Innovative Gameplay Award. Now, I find this humorous because when Starfield came out, people were let down because it wasn't like No Man's Sky. They were saying it doesn't feel immersive, the space travel is basically non-existent, there's just loading screens everywhere, doesn't feel like that space simulation I wanted. A lot of people were saying that, and then these defenders said, no, you need to look at it like a role-playing game, like a Bethesda title. Stop comparing it to something that it isn't. And now, when it's convenient, they start talking about, oh, it is innovative because it's just like No Man's Sky, but better, you can do all these RPG things as well, it's enormous. That is simply not true. It is nothing like No Man's Sky. And then you have these revisionists, they start having to talk down the Elder Scrolls and Fallout to prop up Starfield. What is going on? This person, as much as I love both the Elder Scrolls and Fallout, there are other things kind of sort of like them to one extent or another. I don't really believe that. Yes, there's other open world RPGs, but people stuck with Bethesda, stuck through all of the bad stuff from their prior games because there was that unique aspect of the exploration, the environmental storytelling. That's what is missing from some other games, and it's definitely missing from Starfield. And someone actually calls him out on that and says, what other games are like Skyrim? I've never quite found a game that hits the boxes, been trying for years. I'd say that's true. I don't think Skyrim is perfect, but for making your own fun, having that experience, it's difficult to find that. And this same person says CRPGs in general get pretty close-ish, though most of them are going to be top-down or turn-based. Honestly, Witcher 3 is relatively close to the same style. What games are you playing? I can't think of a CRPG that plays like Skyrim. That is ridiculous. Witcher 3 is like for very different reasons to Skyrim. It has a great main story, incredible side quests. That's not why people like Skyrim. These people are ridiculous, and they prove it when they're called out, when they have to actually back up a point. They have to just answer a point-blank question. Why do you like Starfield? Why is it innovative? Tell us something good about it. They fall to water, and they just make themselves look stupid. And I do just want to end on this comment because it really sums up Starfield fans, sums up all of the delusion. This person says, a good chunk of prior posts in the subreddit, in this Starfield copium subreddit, it was effectively stating that most game awards are just popularity contests, which don't matter since they don't get what the game is about. So he's basically saying that Starfield fans were trying to invalidate the Game Awards, anything like that where Baldur's Gate 3 won and Starfield got nominations. They don't matter, they're just biased popularity contests. No one cares about those Game Awards. But now that Starfield has won in what is 100% community-based voting, it literally is a popularity contest, this award suddenly matters. It doesn't work in both ways, folks. It's a very true comment. It's no surprise on here that it was downvoted. Everyone hit it with the dislike button. But that is the state of Starfield, the game, and of course the Starfield community. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.